If you live within a box, you aren't aware that you're in a box, but once you start seeing who else is around and that there are other cultures and that there are other ways that people live, it's sort of shocking at first.
I haven't really been able to think about who I am because of this whole living in a bubble type thing.
The more you know about different people, the more you know about yourself and where you're placed in this world.
What I've realized here is that everyone's still a teenager, everyone still has common interests.
And you don't really necessarily know what you're missing or where you've been until you've experienced that with other people.
And I think that's just getting closer to yourself in the sense of getting who you are. And that's just, I think, gonna give you a clear idea of where you're headed in the world and knowing that what your purpose is.
Oh, I was so nervous. I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna fit in. I don't know if I'm smart enough.
Honestly, I felt pretty closed-minded coming here. I thought that everyone was going to be so different from me. I thought that coming from different cultures, we aren't going to have anything in common.
So my first impressions are, how did I get here and how am I qualified enough to be here?
When I first came to Irving House, I was like, am I going to fit in? Am I going to be like the odd one out and not be able to talk about my experiences because it's so limited?
My favorite moment definitely was when we traveled by boat to the Thompson Island.
There was, I'm going to call it a ladder. As a team of 4, you had to climb up them. And I was very excited for it. I consider myself a pretty active person, and kind of as we began, it was very easy. But as you get about halfway, there was no way for any one person to be able to climb it by themselves. And so you kind of had to start working as a team, and in the heat of the moment, the adrenaline and everything, was just really cool to kind of succeed as a team and make something out of it.
I did it. I reached the top, so it learned me a teamwork. Teamwork is so important.
I looked down, saw everyone, and I just felt very accomplished.
I just thought that it was such a great way to get to know everyone, get to know their dislikes and their likes, get to know their weaknesses and their strengths.
After that, I trusted them more.
I was so surprised with how well we all bonded, especially since we're so different and we've been brought up differently, yet we can bond so quickly, and I think that's amazing. That's such a cool thing that you can become so close to people that are so different from you.
After just one day, I was seeing everyone laughing together and talking about lots of even more personal things, and it was just everyone was becoming so close.
We all just were teenagers, we all just were people who wanted to have fun, wanted to have a good time, but we also were smart teenagers who want to discuss our issues at the same time.
And it's really cool to see how if someone needs help, their peers, without hesitation, just help them. Whether it's a language barrier or they just don't really understand the concepts. I've seen a couple times.
I think my favorite moment has been the classes. I really love the discussion that goes on.
I think the Harkness method is a great tool for GCI because it helps the students feel a more personal attachment to the subject matter, and it makes them feel like they have the power to solve these problems. They're not just sitting there listening to a teacher lecture for an hour and taking notes and regurgitating information.
I think a lot of kids in school have a lot to say, but they aren't able to say that just because they don't really have the opportunity to voice their opinion because that's not how the class is being taught. So I think it really helps kids kind of find who they are, and
we always get to hear about global points of view and everyone's cultures, and it's amazing to see how different cultures might interpret stories differently.
You hear a viewpoint from Japan, hear a viewpoint from Hong Kong, from Ethiopia, from different parts of the world.
I have my notebook close by where I have jotted down all my notes, so I keep on thinking about them every time. So I think all the classes have been memorable.
I really love hearing the questions that the students have because it really reflects how smart they are, because some of these questions are so deep and they come from a place that it's way beyond their years. These are questions that I would feel like people even older than me would be asking, not someone who's 15 or 16. So it's just really surprising.
I feel like the curriculum was developed so well because everything just ties in with each other. Although each day had its own theme, everything was just so amazingly connected.
One of the issues that we talked in class was about reach out for more stories or different sides of the same story, and not just stick to what you have been given, and just to be critical thinker and criticize whatever you see, because it is so hard to know that what is true and what is not, in this age. So it was just a call for all the students to be critical thinkers and decision makers themselves, rather than having society set some norms for them that they should follow.
Being a global citizen entails being a world citizen, not focusing on your own community back home, but you should take the world as one single community where every single person in the world really makes a difference in shaping the lives of others.
I think it's important to have a multicultural experience and background, because a single mind can only come up with so much, and having multiple minds or multiple intelligences can come up with more possibilities, more solutions to problems, and more ideas for improving the world.
If we recognize that at the end of the day we're all human, we can all recognize maybe a solution. That if you like someone on a very basic level where you can just have a nice conversation about how your day has gone, it suddenly becomes way easier to discuss major issues in the world as friends.
Well, I think in this age it's impossible to live in this world and not know different stories or not be connected, because we are. From food to clothing to technology, almost everything is somehow transported from a different part of the world, and that connects us to a different generation, to a different community. And I think because of that, having a solid understanding of the cultural differences is just going to help us come closer to one another and put our differences aside and just talk about the similarities that will overall help us have a peaceful world.
I thought I had a chance to come here, improve myself and develop my character, and come back to Jordan where I can share my experience with others there, and hopefully encourage them to make small changes or be catalysts and small changes that can ultimately help benefit the community in Jordan and the entire global community.
I think that right now we are stuck in a position where nations only think about themselves, and where officials, presidents, prime ministers, etc. only think about the next issue for them regarding their re-election 4 or 5 years from now. I think that I really got to understand that the meeting between us, between peoples in general, brings something much more important than maybe 100 years of politics would bring us.
Before coming here, actually, there are a few conflicts that I faced with myself about my identity and the kind of person that I am. And I think the summit has actually helped me find myself as a person. I feel more self-aware. I feel like I know what I have to do now to become a great leader and eventually help the people around me. I feel like I have the answer to my question, and that was, who am I? I didn't know who I was, and it's just the summit's helped me understand the kind of person I am, the way I relate to my environment, and most importantly, the way I can serve them better.
Please, everybody who is watching this video, and I don't know who will be watching it, if you do have the occasion to come to the summit, please do. I really mean that from the deepest part of my heart. I think that it is a unique occasion of meeting people that you wouldn't be able to meet in any other circumstances, and it will blow your mind away if you listen enough to them.
To all those out there who are thinking of applying or aren't too sure what to do, I suggest that you apply as fast as you can, because the spots are kind of competitive, but I promise you will have the most engaging week of your life. It's an experience that you don't want to miss and something you truly won't forget. And hopefully, if you're like me, searching for who you are as a person, where your place is in the world, you might just end up finding your identity like I did. So go for it.
One of the students said in his presentation that we should be the change that we hope to see. And it made me think about a story that I've heard that I want the students to take with them, about a little boy and a man on a beach. There's been a heavy thunderstorm, the surf has been rolling and has brought in with it a huge number of sea stars, and they're lying stranded on the sand. And the little boy is walking along the sand, picking up sea stars and flinging them back into the sea as far as he can. And the man, who is of course so much more experienced than him, wiser, older, walks up to him and says, "Son, this is a useless endeavor. Look around the beach. There are thousands of sea stars. What possible use is it for you to pick up 3 or 4? Don't waste your time." And the little boy looks at him, And then he looks down at the sand, picks up a sea star and flings it with all his might into the sea. And then he says, I think it made a difference for that one. What I'm hoping that the students from GCI will take away is they are going to be the agents of change in the world. And I have real faith that these students have the ability to do that.